You know, it's mad how they make everyday things. If this was unscrewed, this would be loose right now. If that was unscrewed, this wouldn't stick at all. So it relies on these two screws. This thing relies on these two screws. Let's look at this here. How do they attach the handle to the flipping seat? There's screws at the bottom, see that? There's screws attaching it to the bottom. I like life, man. There's so many interesting things that people just overlook and see them as everyday things, you know? Okay, driver was messing with the throttle a bit there. I heard that. He was like, like he kept pressing it, he kept pressing and releasing it. I like that. That's something I would do if I was a driver. When I'm bored sometimes, I'll just like, why not? Because the engine's satisfying, innit? You know, I like the car community because they like engines at any RPM. It doesn't need to do high revs to satisfy them. I've met people in the car community that just like cars for like them, that they like the engine for being on the idle RPM. That's the same with me, but for buses. That's the same with me, but for buses, bro. But people in the bus community, they just rinse high revs. They're like, it must do a high rev. If it doesn't do high rev, boring. I like any rev. I like the idle RPM. You see me talking in my videos about high idle RPM, low idle RPM. I've even said mid idle RPM, where it's in the middle, like slightly higher. Basically, when I say these stuff, high idle RPM, okay. So what you have to understand is the engine speed is what's affecting the pitch of it, and the engine speed is measured by RPM, revolutions per minute. Now people usually call it revs per minute. Rev is short for revolutions. I learned that recently, and it's interesting because I wasn't expecting rev to mean that. I wasn't expecting it to be that. But yeah, so yeah, RPM. The red line is the top RPM the engine is required to go past, and then slightly above that RPM, it won't be able to go any further than that. Now the RPM, yeah, the higher it is, the faster it's going. The RPM, yeah, is the speed of the engine, right? Now the pitch of the engine, like I just said, it follows the pitch of the RPM. I mean, it follows the speed of the RPM. The pitch of it follows the speed of the RPM. So, right, imagine that. Now idle RPM, yeah, idle RPM is the RPM the engine cannot go lower than whilst it's on. If it's off, then yeah, it can go to zero in. But whilst the engine is on, it cannot go below the idle RPM, apart from when it's moving. Because there's some buses, yeah, when they move, yeah, and they're about to slow down, the RPM goes below the idle RPM. I don't know why it does that myself. Yeah. I'm not sure if cars do the same thing. But all I know is for buses, yeah, most of them with engines, the RPM tends to go below the idle RPM whilst it's moving, and then when the bus stops moving, it quickly corrects itself and goes right up to the idle RPM. Now, buses are new with their default, engines are new with their default assigned RPMs, idle RPMs, yeah. Now, some engines, yeah, as the vehicle gets older, the idle RPM gets a bit higher slightly. I don't know what the reason for that is either. Maybe it's a fault with the computer. It could be something like, it could be a fault with the computer. But I don't know why some engines, yeah, just randomly start increasing the idle RPM as they get older. I've noticed that. Like if you look at Arriva's Enviro 200s, most of them's idle RPMs are higher now than what they were new. It's rare to get a Arriva E200 that's got the idle RPM still at its default. limit. Now remember, idle RPM is the RPM the engine cannot go below. That's the idle RPM. That's the depth the engine cannot go below when it's stopped. Yeah? That's why they call it idle RPM. Whoa. You know what confuses me, yeah? I don't know why some vans, there's so many vans that have the same body, but it's a different There's so many vans that have the same body, apart from Mercedes, yeah? There's so many vans that have the same body, but they've just got a different badge, that's all. I don't know what that's about. Like, that was a Vauxhall. I've seen a Citroen that has the same body as that. When's Citroen gonna make a bus, man? I'm telling you now, we don't need to make a bus, man. It would look brilliant with that badge. Because you know what I like about Renault cars, yeah? The manufacturer badge Renault has. Search up Renault. It's a car manufacturer, yeah? They usually make cars, sometimes they make vans, innit? But Renault, their badge looks nice and futuristic. That's why I like Renault. Whenever I look at their 2010 over cars, yeah, they look so futuristic. I don't know what it is. It's just the badge just gives it a futuristic look. It just really it has an impact on it. 84152. You know, I'll never understand why people are so afraid of cameras, you know. Like, okay, I can understand if you've done something illegal, sure. If you got ops, I totally understand that. But there's a lot of people that are so shy whenever they see a camera. It doesn't even have to point them. It doesn't even have to face their direction. Yeah? You might as well just smash every CCTV that exists. Yeah? Like, obviously me, I try in my videos, I try my best more now to not get people's faces in the video. Because it's awkward, innit? Anyway, safety, man.